In the early 2000s, there was a very unique show on Cartoon Network, Grim and Evil, created by Maxwell Adams. It was unique because it was two different cartoons in the same show from the same creator. Evil refers to Evil Con Carne, a series focusing on a group of supervillains living on a bunny-shaped island who plot to take over the world. Grim refers to the grim adventures of Billy and Mandy, a series about Billy the dimwit and Mandy the mean spirit, two unlikely friends who win an even more unlikely bet against a Grim Reaper. Beating him at Limbo, he's now forced to be their best friend forever! Eventually, the two shows split into their own, but Max and his crew found it difficult to work on two cartoons at once, so they decided to stick with Billy and Mandy. But Evil Con Carne would still live on, as General Scar would become a reoccurring side character, and they would even bring back other characters for cameos. Billy and Mandy is a horror-inspired cartoon. Note that I said horror-inspired. That's because it's not meant to be scary. It just uses horror as a theme, as the series was more of a dark comedy, with crude and sometimes gross humor. Honestly, I'm fine with this, as Cartoon Network already had Courage the Cowardly Dog, so having two horror tunes be made around the same time would probably be a bit much. Even though early episodes would sometimes have more of a creepy vibe, if anything the show was more of a parody of horror, as it would poke fun at the genre while still showing love for it, making references to Hellraiser, Resident Evil, H.P. Lovecraft, and other such things, but in their own unique way. As a kid, I would always take the time to sit down and watch an episode if it was on. I genuinely don't have much to complain about this show, especially with its wide array of wacky characters. Man, these guys could probably work in their own fighting game. And then they made one! The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, the video game!
I feel the need for bleed.
This game is what I like to call a 3D platform fighter. Most people think of only the second dimension when they think about platform fighters, but there are a few in the third as well. Power Stone is probably the most well-known example of this. The creator of Billy and Mandy has even stated that Power Stone was a major inspiration for the game. There aren't that many 3D platform fighters out there, but there are more than you think. You choose your favorite characters, you fight every other loser until they're defeated. But how does it work? You have two buttons for attacking, a fast light attack and a slow heavy attack. You use these attacks to lower your opponent's health until they die. Yes, I said die because I don't care about algorithms. Stop saying unalive, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Just say passed on or they're no longer with us if you care so much. It's especially disrespectful to use unalive when referring to real people's deaths too. You can also dash and perform a dash attack by pressing attack while dashing. You can grab items and characters to throw them around, but attacking is only one part of the battle. You use regular attacks to lower your opponent's health and lives, but to finish them off, you must get them down to their lowest health at their last life and hit them with an attack to start a finisher. Beat the prompt and the character is defeated. It's pretty standard as every character only has a few attacks, and many of them play very similar to each other, but the items are what really bring this game to life. There is a dump truck-ass amount of items that will spawn in these chests. These items are really fun to use, and they just make the game that much more chaotic. But it is annoying that just one hit makes you drop an item, and they despawn almost as fast as they come. An important one is Mojo. Collecting Mojo allows you to fill this bar down below. Filling it once lets you let out a crazy combo in a single fighter. Filling it twice creates a finisher that takes one life from every character. That sounds unfair, but trust me, filling up your mojo can be easier said than done. Sorry, Melee fans, this game isn't meant to be competitive. Besides, platform fighter devs need to stop making games for you guys anyway, as not only do you already have enough, but you don't stick with them and claim it's because they're not similar enough to Smash, despite just calling it a ripoff. What the fuck is it? But Smash perfected the genre. Or maybe it's just that's what you're most used to because you grew up with it and refuse to learn anything else? Dear platform fighter devs, expand the community rather than try to appeal to a group of people that will just abandon you in a week or so. Sorry, I'm just too passionate about platform fighters. Not only are there chaotic items, but stages are filled to the brim with hazards and destructible environments. Stages are also set up like episodes, as each one has several phases. After a certain time has passed during a match, you'll be sent to another location on the map. This just adds more to the chaos, especially since each phase has its own unique hazards and enemies too. When in versus mode, you can actually choose whether or not you want to fight on a stage normally, or choose which specific phase that you want to fight on. That's actually really cool. It adds more options to the stages without technically adding any additional ones. If only a supposed perfected pinnacle that constantly insists on having transforming and scrolling stages had this as an option. I love Smash, but some of you have made me more critical of it in recent years. Look what you did to me. Gaudio Roam, and support multi versus infinite. There are two control options for the game, and even though they both have the same functions, their execution is a lot different. You can either play with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combo, or the GameCube controller. The Wii Remote and Nunchuck uses motion control for heavy attacks and finishers. When you're finishing an opponent, use the Wii Remote's pointer to aim at these icons. Man, I really hate how so many games on the Wii enforced motion controls when they really didn't need it. No other game is worse than the Blob when it comes to this. Who the fuck decided that jump should be done by swinging the Wii Remote in a platformer? Usually when it comes to other games that are designed around motion controls completely like Wii Sports, you make space around your room for it. But when it comes to a platformer, you think, oh, I don't need to do that. And then you find yourself banging the frickin' Wii Remote on the table every now and then because it's just... But can you change it in the options? Sure, you can switch between several control schemes, but they all still use motion controls. Well, that sucks. The gameplay is a lot slower when you're forced to use motion controls to attack. But fear not, for the GameCube does not have motion controls, and thus the game feels so much better and faster as a result. For the finishers, it's just a 4-button QuickTime event. It really feels like they added GameCube support as an alternative to motion controls. And thank God too, because this game would be so much worse if I was forced to play a fighting game on the Wii's delayed ass motion controls. Before we go any further, let's talk about the game's presentation. Visually it looks alright for an early Wii game. The models are mixed as Mandy's hair is pulled back for some reason, and Grimm's jaw is modeled but his mouth is a texture, though these problems are only really noticeable when you close in on them. The characters are animated surprisingly well when you consider the time. The game also has a lot of flashy effects, a decent soundtrack that creates new tracks and brings some in from the show. You've got wacky cartoon sound effects, and everyone reprises their roles. What's really cool is that there's context-sensitive dialogue that activates depending on who beat who.
Take that, silly ugly friend!
It really brings more life to the game. And you know who else brings more life to the game? Mama! Weird Al Yankovic. Yep, that's right. Weird Al is an announcer for this game. That's pretty cool. They clearly put a lot of love into this game, and it really shows. Lastly, let's talk about the modes. There's a tutorial that teaches you everything you need to know about the game in just a few minutes. There's also a story mode that's only a few minutes long. Someone broke into Grimm's chest and let out all of his mojo. This mojo makes people go mad and fight each other in cartoon violence.
But what kind of sicko would make us fight just for their own amusement?
The gang must figure out who got into his chest, and it's Billy, isn't it? I mean, really, who else in the show sneaks into Grimm's chest as often? Is it really a spoiler if it's that obvious? Well, honestly, though, the AI really knows how to put up a challenge. I was surprised with how engaged I had to be to win. The brain-eating meteor even makes an appearance as a boss, and yes, his song Brains does play here. One thing I do like is that they make a joke at the end of the story mode where Mandy wonders if there's a mode where you could just beat up Billy.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I hope this thing's got a mode where we can just beat on Billy.
And you know what? There is! During the credits, you can beat up Billy in a dark void. That's honestly kind of funny. Not like a ha-ha funny, and not a weird funny either, but like an interesting funny. How many times does a character make a joke about a mode that's that specific, but it actually exists in the game? Not many. Then there's Versus Mode. You pick your characters, choose your game mode, and your stage. At the beginning, there are only 6 game modes you can play. Some are self-explanatory, while others are not so much. Last one standing, Coin Battle, King Reaper, which changes the game from stocks to points, Break Stuff, where you must break the most amount of stuff in set amount of time, Capture and Hold, their version of Capture the Flag, and Crush the Horde. Face waves of enemies, and whoever beats the most wins. Believe it or not, there's even more versus modes that can be unlocked into mission mode. You go through 5 tiers of 9 missions, each of specific challenges. Each one unlocks something new, like concept art, costumes, characters, versus modes, and more. The game is really fun. It's chaotic, insane, and probably one of the best Cartoon Network games out there. But there are some glaring problems that must be addressed. For starters, the game can actually be a little too chaotic at certain points. Sometimes there's just so much going on screen, and it's hard to keep up. CoComelon wishes it was this overstimulating. I wish there was more defense options as well. All you have is this dash and that's it. No block, shield, or parry. You're kinda helpless to a lot of what the game throws at you. But the worst part about the game is that 2 players cannot play as the same character. Yes, you heard right. Only one person can play as Billy, only one person can play as Mandy, only one person can play as Grim, and etc. Are you kidding me? It's a fighting game! Imagine if this is how it was in Street Fighter or Smash Brothers. Hero shooters like Marvel Rivals, I get due to the large teams, but for fighting games, it's never been a problem. They even have alternate costumes, yet not even this changes anything. This is probably the worst part of the game. That's super disappointing. This game is still great though. If I had to make a top 5 Cartoon Network games list, I would gladly put this on there. Even with these issues, I still can't help but to love this game for what it is, and I'd still encourage people to give this game a shot, if you ever find it, that is.